And flurries coming next week. Right now, +1 in Ottawa.
It's the Friday Morning Thumb on the Live 88.5 Morning Startup.
That's right, and usually it's Louis B. Hobson from Sun Media and Louis B. Online. He's not available today. In his place, we present the following. It's from DearCastandCrew, Ottawa filmmaker, reviewer, and blogger Christopher Redmond in this morning. Hey, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome. All right, a thumb up or a thumb down? What do you got?
Well, I've got a very sticky thumb up for the sperm donor comedy, Delivery Man. All right?
Okay.
So this is a funny and unexpectedly touching, that's not another sperm donor joke, but, comedy from a Canadian director, actually, Ken Scott. And it's actually a remake, most people have maybe heard this, about a film he made 2 years ago called Starbuck. Huge hit. One of my favorite films of the year about this guy who, when he was in his 20s, donated a bunch of sperm, and, 20 years later, figured out, he actually has 533 kids.
Right.
So it's about 100 and some of these kids put together this class action lawsuit to figure out who their father actually is. And he gets sort of a dossier of these kids and starts meeting them one by one. Sort of starts believing he's a guardian angel because he doesn't want them to know who he is yet. Right. So he doesn't want to be revealed. But he starts, interjecting in their lives a little bit and helping them out. And it's this nice coming of age story that it's, like I said, it's unexpectedly touching, but not for me because I'd already seen it before, right? So I had sort of expected all the beats, and Vince Vaughn is playing the character, and we're used to seeing him being a really quick-talking sort of smart aleck. He's much more subdued here, and the film itself is a little subdued. It wasn't as, surprising maybe as if you hadn't seen the film before, but still very much worth seeing. It's a great little comedy.
But so Disney hired the same Canadian director to remake his movie?
That's right. Ken Scott is on fire. He had 2 films remade this year, both of which he was going to make himself. So he's a French filmmaker who made he wrote the movie The Rocket, the Maurice Richard film. Right. He made a film called The Grand Seduction, and all these films are being remade, his own films. In fact, this is the 3rd remake of this film. There's another French film as well called Fonzie that was made. So and he's getting in there, and he's taking his ticket to Hollywood and doing good on it.
He must love that. Jeez. The fact that he gets this giant bag of money to make the film all over again. And
well, that's it. And it feels like a little like, he kind of Google translated his script. It is beat for beat, the French version. So I think he made it kind of sleepwalking, but at the end of the day, there's still enough there to recommend.
Cool. Thumbs up then for Delivery Man. Next up, Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, this is another one that is by a Canadian director. Having a great year, Canadian directors going to Hollywood. There was also the Denis Villeneuve film, Prisoners, and this one is by Jean-Marc Vallée, who made a film called Crazy, and which was a big hit about 6 years ago. And this one is about a true story of a guy who... He was a cowboy, a real prostitute-loving, drug-using Texan cowboy who suddenly gets AIDS in the 80s and can't really figure out why because, he's a straight guy. How can you get AIDS? But he slowly comes to realize that, it's not only gay people that get AIDS, and he also, the whole film is about this self-realization and coming to terms with the disease, but also profiting from it, which is what the title refers to, Dallas Buyers Club. He really starts this whole kind of industry around proper medication for HIV treatment, and it's a really well-done movie. It's kind of a little rock and roll. It's kind of gritty. It's not as maybe melancholy as something like Philadelphia, which is an obvious comparison. But it's really fun. And Matthew McConaughey lost a ton of weight. So this would be a very gaunt thumbs up if I were to give it one.
A bony thumb.
Yeah.
All right. We have to talk about the Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Yeah. So this is the 3rd film that's being released this week and going to be the big winner, right? It's the sequel to the Hunger Games, again with Katniss Everdeen, the sort of bow and arrow queen of this dystopian world where children are put into this death match for the entertainment of the masses.
Yeah.
And so now in
the
this
family film.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of funny because it has this really dark premise, right? And yet it is made for young teens, and it's surprisingly, still gritty, but it's got this nice balance of being, a little bit heartwarming. And this film specifically is a lot like the first one in terms of it's all the same story beats over and over. I'd read the first book, not read this book, but I'm watching it again. They're being thrown into the games a second time, and I'm going, well, this can't be the story again. We already seen this. But that's what it is. It's all the winners from the first games, or from all the games beforehand, are put into this super games. It's one of those like Celebrity Survivor episodes, right? And so that's really the story of this one. And it's slowly about this uprising that's happening in all these districts that are being oppressed. And it's really just another anticipation for the 3rd film, which is, of course, split in 2 because you can't have, the last film in an installment be just one film anymore. You have to split it in two, right?
Now, in the third film, they're going to bring everybody from the first and the second film back in at the start.
Yeah, there can't be many people left because the whole point of this was they want to kill them all off. So I'm hopeful that that's not going to be the storyline for the third one.
How's Donald Sutherland in this?
Donald Sutherland is good and creepy as always with those big pointy eyebrows that he has.
Yeah.
I had heard a story that he had actually written a personal letter to the director of the first film advertising why he wanted to play this character. He really advocated on behalf.
He's a good bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think all he had to do was take a picture of those pointy eyebrows and he had it locked. But it's a good one. It's worth seeing as well.
All right. Very good. There you go. It's a thumbs up for Delivery Man, the Friday morning thumb. Christopher Redmond in for Louis B. Hobson. Thanks very much for coming by. It's the morning startup on Live 88.5, 8:18 now.
Ottawa traffic on Live 88.5.
This traffic update is for Ottawa Honda.